Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds in the studio Tuesday morning. Now the Chiefs have a short week and then an even shorter week next week. Face off with the Texans on Saturday. Mahomes dealing with a high ankle sprain. I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks. I hope they just plan on sitting these guys, or at least some of these guys, going into this very short week. It's going to help them down the road, and got too much to lose in the postseason, it being this close. Your thoughts?
Whole lot more to lose than to gain.
Yeah.
This is the Houston Texans. They're playing. They're a good team. They're in the playoffs. But what does a game mean? The Chiefs have a 2-game spread over to get the home field advantage. That's the key over the Buffalo Bills. They have a 2-game edge. So Saturday's game against Houston really doesn't mean all that much. I would be shocked if the Chiefs play Mahomes. I would be very surprised if they play Mahomes in the next game against Pittsburgh Steelers. High ankle sprains don't heal automatically and overnight. They are sore, number one, and difficult to treat, number two. Now, we're dealing with the National Football League here, and they have the world's best trainers. So as far as Mahomes coming back, well, that's going to be all right. But it would be a big, big risk if he plays on Saturday, and really a not necessary one on Christmas Day. Chiefs have that 2-game lead. Carson Wentz, hey, who's to say he can't lead them to victory? He's a perfectly good quarterback. Played at North Dakota State, played with the Philadelphia Eagles, had some really great years. Now, he is the backup quarterback, that is true, and he's not Mahomes. But the fact is, I just think Kansas City would be very wise to put Mahomes on the bench here for this game Saturday and maybe for Christmas Day.
I agree with you 110%. That's why I've been saying it for months. And lean on that run game. I mean, you got Pacheco back, you got Kareem. But on that note, we don't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire any longer.
Do not. He has been waived by the Chiefs. Not really a surprise because he wasn't seeing any action. Now the question is, can he play anywhere else? And the answer is you bet he can. He's a very fine player, has been with the Chiefs now for a little over 4 years. 2020 is when they got him out of LSU, and he had some good years with Kansas City. He hasn't deteriorated to that point. He's not up with the other guys, that is true. But I think he can probably play somewhere, probably not this season, but in the future he can be around and hang on and come in as a substitute running back. You know, I don't feel badly for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. This is part of the profession, and he knows it. Probably would have preferred to have stayed with the Chiefs, but not going to be the case.
It's unfortunate that he did so much for the team. He's got 2 rings with us, and then mental health is no joke. So you got to pay attention to that and definitely take care of that house for sure. So it's crazy. Tuesday night bowl game tonight. Is that right?
You had to remember with what you're dealing here, and that's TV. Television says there's nothing on Tuesday night. Let's throw a bowl game in there. So they have the Frisco Bowl down in Frisco, Texas, which is a really nice setting. This is where they play the Division I AA or FCS National Championship game. It's a converted soccer field, and it's a really, really good arena. Anyway, the game tonight is probably a pretty good one. Memphis State against West Virginia. Memphis is a 4.5-point favorite. Memphis is out of the conference, the All-America Conference, or American Athletic Conference is what they call it, and West Virginia is Big 12. But yet it's the American Conference team that has the favored role here. Memphis is very good. I think West Virginia, who has a new coach, or whether or not it's an interim coach on the bench tonight, remains to be seen, but their coach stepped down. And how this shapes up probably is going to be pretty good. But that's the bowl game tonight. Several more tomorrow night. Now we're getting into the real glut of them because there'll be a whole lot more coming up this weekend and next week.
An epic victory for the Lady Bears yesterday. Let's go through it.
Lady Bears defeated Southeast Missouri by a score of 77-48. That was expected. Southeast Missouri's not very good. It was a morning game, late morning game. They had all the kids in there. But what makes it an epic victory is the fact that this is number 1,000 for the Lady Bears program. Wow. That's pretty good. Now, you have to understand women's basketball in college sports is relatively new. It started back in the 1970s, and I took a look at the record. Who do you suppose the winningest coach in Lady Bears history is? Well, that doesn't anybody with an imagination can figure that out. Cheryl Burnett, she had 319 of those 1,000 wins. Kelly Harper, who played her college basketball at Tennessee and had some very good years up here, at second with 118. And Nyla Millison, who is currently the athletic director at Drury, came over from Drury to Missouri State. She scored 105 victories, and from there on in, the list continues. But it's 1,000 victories for the Lady Bears, and that's pretty good. That's an epic mark.
Congratulations to them, but it's crazy to think that one woman is responsible for a third of those
319.
Yeah, maybe that's awesome. All right, well, we're getting closer and closer to the – well, now we kind of just got rolling for college basketball, so it might be a little bit too early to put all your eggs in one basket. But as far as right now, who's number one?
Number one is Tennessee, and they'll probably be in and around there for most of the season. It's a really, really good basketball team. And take a look at this, Mike, and this is really interesting because Tennessee could be in for a very, very, very big athletic year. I wonder how many realize they are already the defending champions, or will be, in college baseball. They won the College Baseball World Series back in June up in Omaha, Nebraska. So they are the reigning National College Baseball champions. Their football team is in the playoffs. They play Ohio State on Saturday night under the lights in Columbus. You know it'll be cold up there, Columbus. But Tennessee has a really good football program, and here their men's basketball team, number one in the country. Women's basketball team is historic. They've won any number of national championships, not as many as UConn, but nonetheless, Tennessee under Pat Head Summit was really one of the top-notch and maybe the beacon for all of women's sports. So it's a good program, but currently Tennessee's won, Auburn second. Auburn's playing well. Iowa State third. That's Iowa State, folks, up in Ames. They are number 3 in America in college basketball. Kentucky fourth and Duke fifth. They're the top 5 teams in the country.
And you know that's going to shuffle a few times before we get to March. Speaking of which, we had one of those crazy doubleheader Monday Night Football games. Vikings defense took care of that, and it looks like the Raiders are trying to get that first pick in the NFL draft.
They are. They're not very good at all.
No, sir.
The Vikings win 30-12. Bijan Robinson, a big day on the ground, 125 yards, and they just played well. The Vikings didn't even show up for the game. It wasn't really good. I'm sorry, the Bears didn't show up for the game. Vikings just owned them 30-12. Atlanta Falcons and the Las Vegas Raiders, I must admit, they didn't finish it. It was just a dull game that didn't have a lot of spark to it at all. The Falcons win it by a score of 15-9, and the Raiders, they've just cashed in the season. They're just not a very good team. They only have 2 wins on the year. What's happened to the Raiders, for heaven's sake? This is a storybook team from the old AFL days, but they're not the shadow of themselves now.
I'll tell you what's happened to them. It's the same thing that's happened in Dallas. You got team ownership getting involved in the front office, do goings on, and screwing everything up. Let those guys do what you pay them to do, and you won't have any more problems. Just my personal opinion. Ned, you have a great Tuesday. I'll see you tomorrow.